I sat in the lawyer's office, my hands shaking. My brother smirked across the table as the lawyer read Dad's will. Every word hit like a bullet to my son, Michael. I leave everything. When I asked what about me, the lawyer simply said, "Your parents left you nothing." That's when I decided this wasn't the end. This was the beginning of my revenge. I still remembered the smell of that office, polished wood, stale coffee, and the faint scent of betrayal. When my father passed, I didn't cry. We hadn't spoken properly in years, but I still hoped maybe, just maybe, there would be a line in that will saying he'd thought of me. A2, my daughter, Emily, anything. Instead, I got silence. And my brother Michael got everything. The house, the lake cabin, Dad's company shares, the car Mom used to love, even the photo albums from when we were kids. When the lawyer finished reading, I remember laughing softly. Not because it was funny, but because it was so predictable. Michael leaned back in his chair, his grin smug as ever. "Don't look so surprised, Em. You've always been the ... sentimental one. I'm the one who handled things." The lawyer tried to avoid eye contact. He didn't need to explain. My father had left me nothing, not even a token. Growing up, I was the peacekeeper, the quiet child, the one who didn't argue when Michael got the bigger room, the new bike, the expensive university education. I worked 2 jobs while in college. He got his tuition paid in full. Mom used to say, "Michael's going to be the successful one. You're our heart, Emily. You'll marry well." But I didn't marry well. I married a man who left me 2 years later when his startup collapsed. I rebuilt myself from nothing, starting as a receptionist, then moving into finance. I was good with numbers, good with people, and better with revenge, because I never forgot that day in the lawyer's office. That was the day I promised myself, if I ever got the chance, I would make them see who they truly left behind. I poured everything into my work. Late nights, weekends, no vacations. 5 years later, I became the youngest regional finance director at a major firm. My salary was more than what my father made in his final years. And ironically, my brother's company, the one Dad left him, was sinking, mismanaged, debt-ridden, and desperate for investors. Guess who they came to for help? Michael called one evening. "Em, hey, it's been a while. Listen, we're having some trouble with liquidity. Maybe you could take a look." I said yes. I smiled the entire time. When I walked into their boardroom, Michael looked nervous for the first time in his life. Their books were a disaster. I could fix them, but I had other plans. Instead, I told him what he wanted to hear. "Sure, I'll help. I'll invest. Let's set up a deal." What I didn't tell him was that I destructured that deal to give me controlling shares once the loan defaulted, which it inevitably would. 3 months later, his company missed its payments. The debt transferred, ownership legally fell to me. Michael came storming into my office, red-faced and panicking. "You can't do this. This was Dad's company." I looked at him calmly and said, "Dad made sure I had nothing. Now I have everything he built." For the first time, Michael had no words. He left without another sound. A week later, Mom called. Her voice was trembling. "Emily, honey, please don't take the house. It's where your father and I..." But she stopped herself, because deep down she knew they had made their choice. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I just said, "You taught me that love has conditions. So does mercy." Then I hung up. Months passed. I rebuilt the company under a new name. Employees who'd been mistreated got raises. The ones who stayed loyal were rewarded. I ran it the way I wished my father had run our family, with fairness. And then, one winter evening, I drove past the old family house. Lights off, for sale sign in the yard. Through the window, I saw my mother's favorite vase still on the shelf. I sat in my car for a long time, watching the empty house. My reflection in the glass looked peaceful. Revenge hadn't made me happy, but it had made me free. They left me nothing, and in return, I gave them exactly that. Nothing. Sometimes. The sweetest revenge, ISNT, destroying someone at S, thriving so loudly that they can T ignore you anymore.